Welcome back to a Friday Reads where I talk about what I've read, what I'm reading, and what I hope to get to next. And apparently, Delilah wants to be below the camera line for this video. So if you see a little tail and if you see some bumping or hear some meowing, that's why. Things I have finished. As predicted, I finished Symbiosis last week. I'm going to film my series review probably after I film this video and talk about why I think people should pick it up. I just had such a blast with this book. The ending wasn't quite good enough for me to give it 5 stars by how I like endings to be, but I loved both perspectives. I loved exploring the world. I was on the edge of my seat for a lot of this story, being like, how are we resolving this? What's going to happen next? It's very much a book series where things happen and you never know what trouble the characters are going to get themselves into or what's going to happen in the political climate. It's so good and so short, just a complete page turner, and I love how Nikki Drayden writes. So I'm going to cut myself off there because I'm going to have a video, hopefully going up this weekend, that's going to review both of these books, the first book and the second in the Escaping Exodus duology. I love them. I love all of the Nikki Drayden books I have read, have given me so much pleasure. So, that happened. And then, out of nowhere, I kind of read The Tropics of Serpents in 2 days. The only reason probably that I haven't actually also gotten halfway through the third book in this series is that the library doesn't have the audiobook. So what ended up happening, I posted on Instagram, so I'll put the picture here real quick, is that I am crocheting a blanket for one of my close friends, and it's going to take a long time because she chose a pretty not difficult pattern, but it's going to be tedious with the color changes. If you are familiar with tying in ends in crochet and knitting, you know what I mean when you see these squares. But I was excited to try out the audiobook for this, and it's so good. I think it's Kate Redding, but I didn't notice because I think it's a slightly different voice accent for Lady Trent, and it was amazing, and I read it in 2 days with the audiobook because I was just crocheting and listening, and I think that's how I'm doing the rest of the series because I think this narrator does a great job capturing the sass of Lady Trent. It was so good. I don't know if I liked this better than the first book because of the audiobook quick reading experience or because this plot was more interesting. The first book, I liked a lot of it, but I guess it had more of a mystery plot arc, and this one had more political tension and kind of sort of going on adventures in a jungle sort of thing, which I think was more my speed. But also I'm just getting to know Lady Trent, and I just think she's funny. And I enjoy having her company and telling me stories of her life while I am doing a crochet project. It was ideal. So, finished that in 2 days. And I know I said in my series wrap-up and TBR earlier this week that I'll probably try and read one in fall. I would not be surprised if I finish this whole series by the end of the year by doing the audiobooks while crocheting that project, because that is what I want right now. It is so fun to sit down and crochet and work on this project and then have the audiobook alongside it. It's fantastic. So I started rereading Her Body and Other Parties because I'm going to be a part of a book club discussion for this book on Rachel's channel and Reads with Rachel. She has the Feminist as Fuck book club, and I suggested we read this a long time ago, and I forgot it was coming up, and then she's like, yeah, can we still talk about it? And I'm like, oh yeah, sure. So I started rereading it, and I'm buddy reading it with Evie. And it's great. It's also a fantastic for this time of year, so unsettling and spooky in my speed. I've read the first 2 stories so far as reread. The first one is kind of, I think, the one that is a great opener for this collection. Whoever edited this collection was like, yes, this is it. And it's called Husband Stitch, and it's very much like a story of an urban tale with a lot of other urban tales put in, and very much about feminism and what it means to be a woman. And I really love all of the themes and how they're approached in that story, but also the story itself is very compelling, I think, in its own right. And the second story is called Inventory. And full disclosure, when you read that story, make sure you're okay with reading a Contagion story, I guess I would say. I normally wouldn't say that, but it's a very on-the-nose story to read after living in 2020, and this collection came out before 2020. But it's one of the few Contagion stories that I think accurately predicts how people would generally respond to a contagion and things like that. But the framing of it itself is this person's taking an inventory of their life in a specific aspect. So they're writing down all of their intimate encounters and going through it chronologically. And at the same time, you can see what's happening globally and figuring out where a character is. I really like it. The next one is Mothers. I remember this being a pretty difficult one to read the first time, just content-wise. And now knowing the premise of it, I'm excited to read it again to see if I get more from it. I believe the mothers are these two women who are in a relationship, but there was a falling out, but there is a kid involved. And we primarily, I think, get one viewpoint. This is why I'm excited to reread it, because I only remember a little bit of the vibes of that story. So really love this collection. Really glad I bought it on sale, because I got it for like $7 or something. And I love it. This was the short story collection that made me realize, ooh, I like reading short story collections, because I'd read this before Exhalation. And I was reading it just because like I wanted to read adult speculative Latinx fiction. And so I'm really happy to be reading it again. My other big priority that I've been working on after finishing Symbiosis and Lady of Trent is Hyperion, because the discussion is going to be this Sunday, I'm pretty sure, and barring us moving the date, which if we do, you'll find out. I am about this far, so I have a little less than half to go. I'm in chapter 4, for those who are buddy reading. We are in the Shelf Space Discourse, buddy reading it up. I think last week I talked about how I don't get on a lot with sometimes his word choices. Like, they're very intentional, but sometimes I don't like to work that hard, and that's a me thing. Like, there are different authors that speak to different readers, and I don't think this is a good or bad thing. Although there is a chapter in here where you really get to see his opinions about writing as an art. And like, I'm not positive, but you know how like there's those movies directors who are like, MCU films aren't real films, you know, they're not real cinematography or whatever, they're not real cinema. Like, you have directors who are like that, because MCU films are relatively formulaic, they are pleasure films, they are enjoyment, they are art, as in everything is art, but yes, they're not, I don't know, they're not winning Oscars for anything other than special effects. And this author definitely says similar things, I think, about like the pleasure reads of books, you know, like serialized mysteries or romance or stuff like that. And I already got that vibe in his writing style. And after rereading that chapter, I was just like, yes, you have opinions about what writing is the best kind of writing. I don't think the author and I would get along in real life. I do like the stories, and I do think that it is so interesting how he basically is writing 7 different genres in this book, because each short story is a different kind of genre, and it does show his range of ability. So, like, I can't say he's pretentious. Pretentious implies you have no ability, like you think you're better than you are. No, I think he's a pretty good author. I don't think all of his styles work for my taste, but I'm currently in one of the chapters that, like, almost makes me cry. So, he's very skilled. I just think that he would be someone in real life who we would disagree on a lot of things. Also, I'm remembering again that this is full of mystery and intrigue, and I don't remember the answers. So I'm excited to keep rereading the other books in the Cantos to be like, why is all of this happening? Because it's a sci-fi. So in theory, I think I remember there being a science explanation, like an in-world kind of ruling as to why whatever's been happening has been happening. Because there's a lot of weird mystery happening with the Shrike. But I don't remember what it is. And there are just some things that feel almost like fantastical. So we will see what happens in my rediscovery as I reread it. I know I don't get answers in this book. This book, I'm pretty sure, does not give me answers. This is such like a setup book. This book is the definition of a setup book. Like, Way of Kings, move over. This is a setup book. This is the most first book of first books in a series. So yeah, working on that. And because of that, I will update real quick on this book, but I've put this book on pause until I finished Hyperion, because they both take like the same part of my brain to read, and that is House of Chains, where I finished part 1. So I filmed my spoiler chat on part 1 for that vlog that'll come out, and I'm very intrigued as to where part 1 ended up and what characters we might be engaging with soon. But because this and this are both vocabulary-wise pretty dense and thematically dense and things like that, I can't read both at the same time. I won't enjoy reading if I do that. So once I finish this by Sunday, I will pick this back up again and do my immersion reading. And what I have the audiobook for The Stone Sky. I do love physically reading N.K. Jemisin, but it's also narrated by Robin Miles, who is like a treasure. Freaking love Robin Miles. So I might try just doing the audiobook. The last time I listened to a Broken Earth audiobook, I was immersion reading with that Obelisk Gate, but I might just try it for my crocheting, because right now that's the only audiobook I have. Delilah, why did you knock over Midnight Robber? That was rude. This is a good book. If you didn't notice, my cat knocked over a book because she's being very cute right now. So I'm going to try how that works. If not, I will just physically read this or immersion read it or whatever. I am really feeling this. I'm like realizing it's been too long since you picked up the Obelisk Gate. You need to get to this, Angela. So that's probably one of the next reads. And then I think, because I want to know if I can recommend it on some recommendation videos, I want to pick up Summer Suns, which I think is like gothic, dark, academia, spooky. I have no clue. I was a little bummed because I was hoping to listen to the audiobook, because I got the audiobook via NetGalley, but the NetGalley audiobook app is bad. It's really bad. If you're hearing rustling, she's like on my notes on the floor. So when I go to like listen to it, unless I listen to it at 1x speed, which is just too slow for me, it gets distorted in its audio quality when I'm using headphones, which I like exclusively listen to audiobooks with headphones on. So the book wouldn't get a fair reading if I used the audiobook. So I will be physically reading that once my eyes are done physically reading this bad boy. This is the barrier between me and other reads. It's not a bad barrier because it's enjoyable, but it's definitely dense and takes me longer to read than normal. Like 50 pages of this does not take an hour like it normally would. It takes me more like an hour and 15 or something like that. So those are all the reading things, I think. Oh, I did finish the nonfiction, The 100 Years of War on Palestine. And near the end, you get more up to date. And it's like, yeah, these are the things that I did know and stuff like that. I think it stops at 2017, so it's not quite up to date. But the Obama administration, like, I started to recognize more of the political figures that I had been hearing about in podcasts and the news and things like that. And I, definitely just need to pick up more nonfictions about modern history. I feel like my gap in modern history is just, like, unexcusable, if that makes sense. Like, I mean, and part of it is school systems, like public school in the United States, not college or anything like that. But after World War II, we just kind of stop. And, like, that's 1940. There's a lot of history that's happened since then. I mean, gosh, now it's been, like, 80 years of history has happened since World War II. That's a long time. It's a couple generations. Like, we do learn about, like, civil rights movements and stuff like that, but that's just because of Black History Month. It's not like it's ever talked about outside of the context of February and things like that. So I am looking to make that more of a consistent thing when I pick up certain audiobooks in my reading, especially for, like, my commute time, which is, like, a good time for me to, like, consume audiobooks that way. So that's the thing I finished. And I don't know if you noticed or if it's easy to see, but I got this new a necklace. My best friend had her wedding last weekend. She gave us all gifts. So she got me a book locket. So I haven't put anything in the locket yet, but it's one of my favorite book things. Like, almost all of my favorite bookish things my friend has gotten me. Like, there's a shirt with quotes from A Court of Thorns and Roses for, like, ACOMAF, because she's the friend who showed me Sarah J. Maas, and we both love that series and things like that. So I really love this. It's really dope. And that basically took up most of my energy this weekend, was that wedding. And it was a fantastic time. Makeup is terrifying. I, like, never wear makeup because I'm lazy. Like, makeup requires time, money, and practice, and I don't want to invest any of those things. Let me know what you're up to this weekend. This weekend, I finally have, like, a chill weekend, so don't know what I'm going to do, but hopefully it involves a lot of reading. Maybe I'll play games with friends. It's going to be fantastic. If you want to leave an emoji, just leave, like, a dragon for the Memoirs of Lady Trent, and otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.